Hello, I'm Jared Nyberg, and welcome to episode 55 of JagaVision. Going to be a pretty awesome show. We got Jayce joining us. He's a competition bartender. He is going to be making some mocktails with us today. We got Sherri from Sister Speak. She'll be joining us as well to participate. She's going to attempt an amazing feat of making a mocktail in the passenger seat of a car while driving. So we'll see how that goes over. We have the Okumidori Fukada by Fujioka on the agenda, so that's going to be lots of fun. I was just talking to Mr. Fujioka last night, had a little bit of a dialogue on what's coming this year. He found actually a cultivar that he put aside for us during the harvest last year, but of course there was so much going on with the pandemic, and we all thought it was going to end sooner than it has in terms of, you know, economic shutdowns, etc. So he kind of felt bad bringing up this really extra pricey, extra special cultivar, but we came up in conversation yesterday, and we're going for it. We're going to get this this cultivar we've never had before, called Yume Wakaba. So he said it doesn't taste very good, but it's spray free, and we might like it. So I don't know what that means or what to take away from that, but pretty excited. It's from his friend, so he didn't grow it, and that can sometimes play a role. And you know, it's not that Fujioka is going to talk down about another farmer, but you know, he's pretty proud of what he puts together. So when we're going to get some really yummy teas from him this year. We have the Samidori that we brought in a few years ago on the agenda. Single cultivar. We have a single cultivar Okumidori on the agenda, of course, the one we love so much from him. That one also made into a sencha, that Okuda lot with the Okumidori made into a shade-grown sencha. We're going to likely bring in some of that. I mean, it's all exciting stuff. Yabukita by Fujioka, the Shimoyama, we're going to bring in. So yeah, lots of really cool stuff from Fujioka. So today we're going to be doing his Fukada lot. And for those of you who don't know, we have a microclimate series on our Okumidori going. So we have the Fukada, which is the kind of cafe standard rank that we have, where it tastes a little better with a little bit of dilution. We got the Shimoyama, which is kind of fits within our sort of nice balance of bittersweet and acid. It's sort of a medium priced tea. It's more in the $34 range. And then we have the top end competition level stuff, the Okumidori Okuda, and that Okuda lot, Shimoyama lot, and Fukada lot are all growing the same variety of the tea plant, but you get a chance to taste how the microclimate has this profound effect on the end flavor. So yeah, pretty stoked about that. Yeah, we're going to be joined at 1:15 by our friends. In the meantime, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I just go and have some matcha? Oh, I got a little bit of a
Yeah, sure. Can I do it from my end? Turn the mute on? Yeah, cool. Good. It's not, do you want me to? I can just be quiet too.
you know what? They can all hear you already, which is kind of funny,
Isn't
because
that
I
nice?
didn't turn off the mute on my end. So
That's great.
yeah, amazing. All right, so everybody can hear you and not see you yet. Here they are. Okay, we have Jayce joining us from. Ooh, interesting. My screen. This is awesome. Okay. Give me a second here, Jayce. I got a little
Yeah.
bit of a technical difficulty with the screen, and we should be able to. Ooh, cancel that. Pin you. There we go. And we cut off the top of your head for some reason.
Oh, I can. You know what? I was just using the camera on my phone to get the better
Oh,
There we go.
yeah, it's nice to have the surface, but oh yeah, we still got it. We still got it.
Still got it?
We still got it. Yeah. I know us tall folks,
Still
eh?
see everything here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you watch when I stand up. How awesome is that?
It's a nice belt.
Yeah, right? I'm into it. So Jayce, welcome to JagaVision. We're on episode 55, so 55 weeks of doing this show. Pretty excited, and just for our audience, Jayce and I, we've known each other for what? It must be bordering on
7 or 8 years.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years.
Yeah,
Almost in that.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah, almost a 10-year thing happening. So pretty stoked to have you on. When I met you, you were at Clive's, and now you're joined. You were saying Vessel and Agrius, and you're competition bartender, as far as I understand. And you got some. What was really cool, Jayce, is when I got to have one of your drinks, just seeing how you moved. It was just so cool. Yeah, you just had it. You knew where everything was. It was just, I don't know. It was pretty special. It was like a dance. But anyway, you want to tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name, like Jared said, it's Jayce Kadyschuk. I've been in Victoria for just about a decade now. Up until COVID started, I was the head bartender, manager of Clive's Classic Lounge, which is a bar here in the city located in Chateau Victoria. I was very fortunate to inherit that bar. They definitely allowed me to have a lot of cocktail freedom and flavor freedom, which is what spawned the relationship that I had with JagaSilk and a number of other local producers in Victoria. For me, flavor is a really big part of cocktails. It's not about booze, it's not about overconsumption. It's really about enjoying really well-balanced, intricate, delicate flavors that are exciting and that aren't common at every restaurant and every bar that you go to. So yeah, I did that for a good 7 years, and COVID came, and I was kind of reaching that point where I was ready to move on to something else, and it just kind of was that perfect opportunity to exit as we literally shut our doors down for, I think they were closed for about 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
Yeah, shortly after we closed, I left Clive's and just took some time to reflect on how I wanted to approach the next step that I did regarding cocktails and the late night hustle. I'm in my early 40s now. It doesn't really appeal to me as much to be staying up until 1 or 2 a.m.
Right.
4 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
And a good friend of mine runs one of the best liquor stores here in the province, and they were just stepping into a delivery service right when COVID opened up, or COVID happened. They wanted to do that. They really didn't have the infrastructure yet, so I signed up to pack up boxes for a few days just to help them out.
Nice.
And then a few weeks later, they offered me a spot on their management team, overseeing that as well as their beer and spirit selection as well, which kind of played to what I do anyhow.
Well, you have those relationships. You can get some pretty killer stuff in the shop.
And it worked out really nicely, and I'm still there right now. I mean, since then I've taken on the cocktail program at Agrius, another wonderful restaurant. They work with 100% organic material within their building, and that's a no compromise thing for them.
And for our viewers, Agrius is actually owned by Cliff Lear, who was on the show. He was on JagaVision earlier, I think in episode 20 something. We did an episode on fermentation. So yeah.
Oh, awesome! Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he does a really good thing, especially with the bakery side. They're full of hay.
Mm-hmm.
Really fun stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing since then, and I'm really just enjoying the pause from the hustle of running a cocktail bar, and but still having that foot in the door to a creative outlet for me with what Agrius has done. And they're doing a bottled cocktail program, so they don't actually have a bartender on hand, but I have just I make batch cocktails and I bottle them for them. So when they do service, I think they're just about to open up a patio. The cocktail's ready to go, crack the bottle and pour it over ice or whatever the specific glassware needed, and that's how we do that one.
Super interesting. Like, is there a there must be a reason why cocktails are made fresh. Do you feel like you're losing out a bit when you're batching them like that, or are you purposely designing recipes that can handle a little bit of time in the bottle, or even mature and taste a little bit nicer after they've had a chance to rest? Or how are you managing? That's so interesting to me. Just something like a cocktail that's so, the imagery is like concocted as I sit sort of idea, and then you're a lot of that is theater, I guess. But is there a flavor element that's being sacrificed here? Or is it even better because you're measuring everything so carefully?
That's a really good question. I mean, there is things that you have to remove if you're going to bottle cocktails. You don't want to use fresh citrus because with the particles, it's going to start to oxidize and taste tinny, metallic, and actually go off and get really funky. So what I use to kind of step aside from that, but have something that can be preserved for, I just tasted one last week that had been in a bottle for 2 months. It was a kind of a makeshift margarita using citric acid opposed to using actual lime juice for that cocktail. And it was fine. So you're looking for ingredients that do have the opportunity to like stand time. If they're kept cold, if they're sealed, it's not going to do anything dramatically to change the flavor of the cocktail. So it should taste exactly the way it does when I mix it, as it does a month down the road.
Interesting. Yeah.
And there's a couple things where I use balsamic vinegars in some where the way it interacts with the spirit can sometimes develop little sediment, but really just to give it a good shake, it breaks apart, and there hasn't been any issues that we've found. And been doing the program for 5 or 6 months now.
Okay. Wow, that's cool. And so you've had a chance to go and I guess tweak some things and find what works. So citric acid. Whenever I see non-fresh ingredients, I'll often be like, I don't know. Like I kind of like we were talking about citric acid being used in ice cream and it not being as ideal. But I guess there's an opportunity here to just be like, hey, like I want that citrus flavor. I want it to like. Do you think that there's going to be some staying power for this style of cocktail, or do you think this is just a placeholder while things are shut down, or where do you see this going?
It's been used in like cocktail bars for a long time. Maybe not on the scale of we're doing bottled cocktails that need to sit out for a while. I mean, you can use a centrifuge as well if you want to use fresh juice and just pull out those particles.
Right.
That'll work. I'm just trying to find ways around that make it. I don't have to spend $5,000 on a new machine.
Right.
But can also still incorporate the flavor. So what we were doing, and I was rotating the cocktails every month or so. There'd be a couple new cocktails that would come on and a couple that would go off, which we're still going to do once they reopen that side of their business. But
they have a new patio they're going to be doing.
It looks really good actually. But just finding alternative ways to get the actual flavor, like that lime flavor or lemon flavor, and collaborating with what they do in their bakery. I would say they were using lemon juice in something. They had all these halves of lemons that had been juiced. I'd say, okay, hold on, give me that, and I'll take that, vacuum pack it with sugar and let it sit in the cooler for a month. And that sugar essentially creates an oleosaccharum is what it's called, basically a heavy syrup where it just pulls out the citrus oil from the pores of that citrus. And usually it would just be peels, but I thought, let's try the whole thing. Made it a little bit juicier, and that's how you can kind of incorporate a little bit of that fresh element or that natural citrus flavor. And then you just have citric acid to provide the actual acid component, which is your balancing factor against the sweet and the bitter and savory and the spicy, all those other things that we play with in cocktails.
That's cool. We actually got in some yuzu peel powder from a farm in Kaminoho in Gifu. Mew and I went there and picked up some of it and brought it back, and I was just thinking like how interesting it was to be able to play with the citrus profile in something fairly exotic like a yuzu without having the curdling effect, and it wasn't it was something I could actually make into a matcha latte. I was doing these yuzu matcha lattes that were really fun, and I was just thinking how interesting it would be to do like a dehydrated citrus peel. Obviously it's going to be different from the fruit, but that might be able to have a little bit more staying power and be less that's so interesting. I love what you do, man. Like it's just so interesting. The like especially like who would think to do that, vacuum pack this and I remember just looking at the program at Clive's and just seeing you guys were making and I guess they probably still are making so much of your own ingredients that are often something you would buy and you would concoct cocktails based off of these like
for me to speak to that point, like I love using fresh ingredients, and especially if we can work with producers that we can get behind and support the ethics of their business and what they're trying to do. Sustainability, really important, and also, making friends with chefs is a great flavor learning experience for me, communicating with, especially right now with Agrius, what they're doing in the kitchen, what they're doing in the bakery,
Right.
any leftover or any waste products that can be potentially reused instead of going right into waste. That's a win. You know,
Yeah,
that's
totally.
saving money on spending, but you're also using every part of a product.
There's
I think that's excellent.
there's an ethical component there that is almost, well, I would say is even more important than the economic one, right? Like that's so cool, and it's lovely when they can go hand in hand, right? And you know, we actually with matcha, of course, we're constantly racing against time in terms of oxidation. But even our teas, you know, like during COVID, we had quite a lot of product that we brought in with some sort of, you know, we didn't know what to expect when we were buying last year. Some things we underbought, some things we overbought. And I'm just so grateful for our kombucha program, because fermentation just provides a very fascinating avenue to be able to use, you know, bulk amounts of our tea. And for it to, you know, I've tasted some bottles, you know, we say that they're only good for 4 months or whatever. But that's just so that they're not foamy. But man, you know, some of them like a year or two later are still doing really nice. And I just love the idea of preserving waste products. In this case, it would be tea that we can't sell anymore because we're not super into this idea of selling 2 harvest years ago's teas. It wouldn't fit with our whole like focus on fresh, right? But to include it in a fermentation just allows us to utilize that, and it tastes awesome. You know, like it still tastes really good. I mean, if it was tasting oxidized or if there was some sort of flaw in the flavor, we definitely wouldn't go there. Have you done like any ferments in your cocktails that especially in these bottled ones?
I mean, if I've used some of your tea.
Okay, there you go. Awesome.
Your kombucha.
Cool.
I remember getting a case from you, and I think we just kind of tucked it away and didn't touch it we kind of forgot about it actually for a few months. And you're right, it did the foamy thing, but I thought, well, what does this actually taste like?
Yeah.
I mean, it foamed forever when you opened the bottle, but it was so delicious. Like what had taken place and what had transpired in that to give it depth, and the flavor just really, really shifted from what you were expecting to be this bigger dynamic flavor. It was really cool. As far as what I've done for fermentations, I haven't done a lot behind the bar, and it's not because I haven't wanted to. I think it's because it's a matter of like you've got to wait a lot of time before you can use it. We're always switching with seasonal flavors, and it just never happened to work out. I mean, we started making some kombucha for a little while at Clive's, and I'm not sure what happened to the SCOBY. It's still there, maybe, hopefully. I should have taken it with me. Actually.
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, we can always hook you up with a SCOBY, my friend.
Awesome.
No, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, because I was just there's this Noma guide to fermentation that just has me so excited, and one of the things they talk about in that book is a lot of lactic ferments, and just how interesting that can be to utilize local fresh ingredients and do these fairly fast-paced ferments and have some. You know, I was just thinking how cool it would be to have you probably have used rhubarb in a cocktail.
Totally.
before.
I made some shrubs and syrups mainly with rhubarb, but that Noma fermentation book, I've had that for about 6 months now.
Nice.
I had a friend that did a stage at their fermentation lab.
Oh,
and
so cool.
she runs a restaurant in Saskatoon and spent about 4 months over there.
Wow.
And that conversation with her a couple of years ago about fermentation was what really got me, first of all, to like think about it more, and finally a year later bought the book. And
nice.
and yeah, I look forward to playing around with that at some point in time.
So fascinating for sure. Yeah, I'm also getting into like I really love amazake. And that's another ferment that uses the koji mold, and it's a fascinating one for sure. Okay, we've hit. We don't have Sister Speak joining us yet, and she might have to just kind of join in on the fly. But maybe while we're talking, we could start making this drink. Let's. You were gonna. So I posted for those watching the recipe of what Jayce is about to do is actually already in the description. Thank you for sending that over to us. So you can always, even if you're watching the archived version of the show, you can go and you can follow along with that. Do you want to maybe take me through? So we're going to be using. I was explaining to everybody we're going to be using this Maccha Okumidori Fukada, and is that what you got?
That's what I got.
Okay, awesome. So, and the Fukada is a part of a microclimate series. We have the same Okumidori cultivar grown in 3 different microclimates by the same farmer. So we have the Okumidori variety grown in the Fukada lot, the Shimoyama lot, and the Okuda lot. So this is kind of our cafe standard. It's a little bit more accessible in terms of price point. Retails for about like $22, etc. Oh, sorry, got the timer going off. But you also, I guess we have cucumber and ginger. You want to tell me a little bit? Why don't you take over, Jayce?
Yeah, sure. Let's. Well, we're gonna start by making the ginger syrup. I kind of put a batch together last night, but when I realized you're gonna actually make every part of this with me, I'm here for it again.
Okay.
So I pre-measured just before getting the setup. So we've got ginger. So the cocktail. Let's go over the ingredients we're gonna use first of all.
I got freaking full on fresh ginger. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, before we even start, I should just talk about bar tools and kitchen hacks you can use versus having to have a full, proper cocktail bar set in your house.
I have this, unfortunately.
You've got a great shaker right there.
Oh, is this going to work? It's got a thing.
Yeah, and it's got the other thing on. That's a cobbler shaker, a little 3-part shaker. Those are excellent. That'll work really well for this.
Okay.
A bit of a hack if you're watching this and you're like, I don't have a cocktail shaker. I don't want to go buy one just for one drink.
Right.
You got a mason jar with a sealable lid. You'll be just fine.
You're gonna be okay.
This is a good. You know what? I'm in a pinch. I don't really, or you just want to make a margarita one night. You just feel like something. A mason jar with a solid lid, that'll work great.
Okay.
Another tool that we'll use. This is called a Hawthorne Strainer. It's got this kind of the springs here, and this is what's going to hold out ice and sediment when you go to strain it into a cocktail glass.
Do I need? This is going to work for me though, right? This little strainer here, is that?
That's exactly right. Okay. Yeah, if you've got a cobbler shaker, that's going to be perfect. It's going to hold the ice and a lot of the pieces of the cucumber because we're going to muddle and that cucumber into the cocktail.
Ooh,
the next
excited
thing
to muddle.
What's that?
I said I'm excited to muddle. Yeah, I'm ready to muddle. Awesome. Yeah. Okay.
The other thing I was going to show with the Hawthorne strainer, if you don't have a cobbler shaker and you're using this, something that can be very useful is just a simple wooden spoon. Just putting it in, just a little bit of pressure and leverage. And that can hold up most of it. And then if you're in a kitchen, you've got one of these, any size, you can kind of go like that right through.
Loving these hacks.
It's going to be a good kind of kitchen home hack way to make cocktails.
Amazing.
The other thing that is something that's very important, I like to use a scale. I like weighing a lot of ingredients. I feel like you have more precise. You'll speak to that. Use a scale for everything.
Yeah.
I think I bought my first scale from you actually.
Amazing.
Years ago.
Yeah, dude. Awesome. Yeah, mass. I think it's underutilized in a lot of bars. Coffee bars, liquor bars. Yeah.
But this is like an OXO measuring utensil. This has all the measurements we're looking for, both in millimeters and in ounces. Okay. And that's kind of a good way to go as well if you don't have scale or if you want to go back and forth. So those are our tools. Now let's start talking about the recipe.
Okay.
Cocktail recipe is, I just wrote it down here, so I've got all my measurements properly down here. So we're going to use Maccha Shot. I just took the instructions that you have on the package of this matcha, and I just doubled the amount of matcha. And I don't know if that's going to be, wrong. I don't know if that is going to make it in your world. If you add more matcha, I'm doing.
No, I'm on. It's like here. In terms of like excitement for the nervous system, it's kind of like having, a quad shot of espresso versus a double shot of espresso. So
yeah, so you're gonna get that.
You're gonna feel it. You're gonna be like, yeah, I feel really good right now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I just wanted to really get a very strong flavor of this matcha. Totally. I love the tasting notes that you have on here. That nasturtium was one of the things that the first time I tasted, I'm like, oh my goodness, it tastes like what I have growing outside this window right now.
Very cool.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, those bitters, they really work, hey?
Yeah, and it's a great element in this cocktail, and the way that it plays with the ginger, which is actually, after tasting this, that was why I went immediately to ginger. I thought this is going to be good to give it some spice, to give it a tiny bit of like almost acid flavor in that, and then cucumber is going to bring bright fresh. So you've got bitter, you've got spice and a little bit of acid, and then you've got bright fresh, and that's kind of the base on this. And I'm using oat milk as kind of the thing that amalgamates everything together and lets those flavors really dance and really showcase themselves in the cocktail.
Cool.
Yeah,
I got this stuff. It's like an organic oat milk, 3 ingredients, which is nice, but yeah.
That is, yeah, it's always good when you can get organic. That's what this is as well.
Sweet.
If you don't have this, almond milk works well too. I tried with both last night, and I prefer it with the oat milk, but there was very, very small difference, almost unrecognizable.
Right. Yeah, I guess you get a little bit more bitters in the almond milk, eh?
Yeah, and I kind of like the way it plays into the matcha and the bitterness in that.
Sweet.
The next thing we have to do is just make some ginger syrup.
Okay.
So
okay.
We've got the recipe here. I'm just going to turn my kettle on here.
So I
kind of preset this for the ginger syrup. Just make sure I follow what I did here. 85 degrees Celsius, or about 185 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So that won't take that long. It's really quick to heat up.
I got it. Got it going on. I'm at 85.
In the meantime, we're going to take the ginger. So I've already pre-peeled and diced up 20 grams of ginger.
Do I need to peel?
It's not the most important thing. It's a rough peel. There's still little pieces here. It's just kind of getting, I just use the inside of a spoon.
What do you think?
And I find that's the fastest peeler.
That much-ish, and then I'm just going to weigh that kind of thing? Like 620?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just, and then chop it up, and then you should be good. As long as you've got 20 grams.
Then we're golden? Okay.
While you're cutting that up, I'm just going to speak a little bit to the concentration of this syrup.
Okay.
Usually when I make a ginger syrup, I would take 20 grams of ginger and go up to anywhere between 200 to 250, sometimes 300, depending on how strong I wanted that ginger flavor of the water and of the sugar. This is more like a ginger concentrate,
right?
Because it's got about like between a half and a third of what I would usually use for a ginger syrup, where you don't want it to be just a big punch in the face of ginger. The reason that we want the strength in this is because the oat milk really, really tones everything down a little bit. So I want that ginger still to come through the oat milk, as well as the strength of the matcha itself, and that the bitterness that I think is really enjoyable. But that on its own can be incredibly overpowering. So these two kind of match each other in the mix, which is why I toned down the recipe. So if you're wanting to make standard ginger syrup for, say, a cocktail or a non-alcoholic cocktail recipe that you've seen, I would probably either double or triple the amount of water and sugar that we're going to add. The ratios we're going to go with is 20 grams ginger to 100 grams of water, and then 100 grams of cane sugar is what I'm using. That's just what I have on hand in the house.
Cool.
And I prefer organic is what we like to use here. So,
yeah, all the way.
So that just works.
Okay.
How's that? That looks good.
I'm managing so far not to slice off my thumb.
Don't even worry about peeling it too much. Like I said, like I used the kind of butt end of a spoon. Do I have a spoon kicking around here?
Ooh.
Just like if you're taking ginger, you got the spoon like that.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of like scrape it like that, like this. I don't know if that translates on the camera there, but it works incredibly well for quick. But if you've got a little bit off, just dice it up and you'll be good.
Okay. My mixer is like full on. It can puree raspberry seeds, so I feel like.
Then don't even worry about doing too much peel.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm at 19.8.
I think you're good.
I think we're in a good place.
Yeah.
Okay.
So put that into whatever it is you're going to be blending or blitzing it in.
Sure.
I've got a Nutribullet here. Vitamix is ideal.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm gonna do Vitamix. Yeah, I'm just gonna put everything in a bowl. Or no, you know what? I'll go grab the little Vitamix thing. Just hold on.
Yeah. And if you've got water going at 85 degrees. Oh, he's got his headphones off. Anyway, if you're watching right now, hot water and ginger.
Less prone to sort of, where am I? So I'm gonna do, should I put the milk in first, or no? We're making a ginger
milk's
syrup.
not
I mean
gonna
the
be
water.
added until the very end. So I always save the water. Well, actually, we're just gonna steep it for a couple seconds before we blitz it.
Okay.
So if your water is ready, are you at 85?
I'm at 85. Yeah. Should I put the? I guess
okay.
I'll put it in and then.
So yeah, I just put the ginger in the container, or however you want to do it if you've got a bowl.
Okay.
And then go ahead and add the water up to 100 grams or mils.
Okay. I feel like I'm either like doing something that's kind of okay, or I'm cheating. Is it okay to steep it in the pitcher here?
Yeah, that's because that's what this is for me. This is the container. So
okay, perfect.
We're just gonna, and once you've got that in there,
yeah.
I know technically I've been told I'm not supposed to use hot water.
Right.
I don't think 85 degrees is crazy hot in comparison to what we could do.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's literally like a 2 to 3 second blitz.
So I'm not putting in the sugar right now.
No, sugar's gonna come afterwards.
Okay. All right.
We just got the ginger and the water right now.
Okay. I'm gonna go do that.
Cool. And I'm gonna blitz it. It's gonna be loud for a second, but
okay. And then if you want to like just maybe high five the audience until I come back, I'll be.
Sounds good. All right, high five, audience. Just a little kind of pulsing blitz. Perfect. That's all we're looking for. We just want to get everything emulsified together and make sure there's no big chunks. That's exactly what I want right there. And then I'd open up the lid, set that back down. How'd that go for you, Jared? Oh, sorry. How'd that go for you?
It's blitzed. We are blitzed. Yeah.
Did you just like kind of 1 or 2 seconds really is all, especially with the Vitamix, how fast those go?
Yeah. No, I'm feeling good about this. There's like a pulpy
puree. Is it looking like this? Yeah, a little bit of pulpy puree. Perfect. Now we're gonna go ahead and so I'd throw it back on the scale. I've got this pre-measured to 100 grams, but throw that on the scale and add your 100 grams of the cane sugar.
Okay. Grams going in.
All right. And now we're just going to throw it back and do another little blitz with this. Pretty much the exact same thing you did with the ginger.
Why was I supposed to put this into the ginger?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The sugar into the ginger and the water, yeah.
Why do I blend them separately?
I want to let that flavor infuse into the water first and then add the sugar to it afterwards.
It makes a difference.
So I find it just gives it a little bit more more sharpness. You know what? That's a good question.
Cool. Okay.
It's just a habit I've always done. Anytime I'm steeping something that's going to be a part of the syrup, I do the steep first, and then the sugar is the last thing that I add to it. So usually it's on a stove. If I'm doing like a cinnamon syrup, I'll like simmer that for 10 or 15 minutes till I get a good flavor in that water, and then I'll add the sugar after. I think it's just a habit that I've formed over years of making different kinds of syrups.
That's super cool. Okay, do you ever like time that infusion or anything, or it's just kind of
always? Yeah, like for this one, the infusion was just like seconds.
Yeah.
But I always record what I'm doing just so that if I want to recreate it, I can do it the exact same way if I'd like that.
Super
or if
cool.
I find it needs adjustments, I know where I've started. I've got a good baseline.
Okay.
So I'm just going to blitz this again for.
Okay. I'll go do that too.
Just a couple seconds like that. Essentially, what you want to do is just get as much of that sugar dissolved as possible. If you're making a regular syrup that doesn't have ginger, that you're not doing like this, when you add the sugar over the stove, you just sit there and stir it until you can see everything go from granulated to just dissolved right into it.
Yo.
Hey, Jared, I was just going over with syrup. Or sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was saying with syrup. So with most syrups, if I'm doing it over the stove and I've got it simmering. When I add the sugar, I'm just going to stir it until it completely dilutes and all the granules are gone. Doing it this way just kind of speeds that up a little bit. And we're also not doing it at the same hot, consistent temperature the whole time. So I want to make sure. So the way that I'm just going to check to make sure everything's kind of diluted is just pulling a spoon out, and I'm looking for granules in the base of the spoon, and it's all diluted. So.
Diluted, like all blended in kind of thing?
All the blended, yeah. Sorry, all the granules have dissolved.
I have a lot of ginger fiber. Should I go and do a full on? Okay, I'll be right back.
You're gonna do another one? Okay, yeah. Ginger fiber's fine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because we're gonna strain this out. That's our next step. Is if you've got some kind of vessel that you can strain it into.
I've got vessels. Yeah,
you're in the right place. I've just got a little kind of a cream container and
voila.
I don't even know if I need this, but just to make sure.
Should I use my? I have choices here. I have my. Those are my sieves.
Oh yeah, you've got good sieves. I've got one. I think I bought it from you actually. One of those. The
superfines.
Like Mike superfines, yeah.
Okay.
These ones here. Don't use that.
Don't use that. Okay, that's meant for catching plankton, and maybe our ginger syrup wouldn't fit through that. That would.
No, we're looking for something. This is like a fine strainer. It's not a micro fine strainer, but because this is a syrup and a little bit more viscous, we need a little bit more space in between the wires just to allow it to go through. Otherwise, I can pull and it'll take you 15 minutes just to get through one of those. Super fine strainers. I'm making a dance over there.
These two.
Yeah, the one that is in what it looks to me like your right hand. That one. I think that should be a good one.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, slightly finer than the other one. Okay. And then I'm just gonna.
And you'll end up with a bunch of. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if you've ever done this ginger syrup with ginger peel powder, or not peel powder, but like dried ginger powder. And does it make a difference to use fresh ginger?
No, that's a good. I've never used the powder. I love fresh whenever I can, if I have the opportunity. That being said, the shelf life on this, once it's made, if you keep it in the fridge, is only a couple of weeks. My guess is if you were to use the ginger powder, you could stretch out the shelf life.
Because I hear that there's a transformation with ginger that happens during that drying and powdering process. It's similar to like the difference between a jalapeno and a chipotle. That they're not really, it's not that one is like better or worse than the other. Definitely jalapenos would be fresh, and then your chipotle is like your baked, right? Like there's like a cooking that happens, and it brings out different characteristics. It'd be interesting to experiment with a ginger powder. Yeah.
I'd like to try. I'm going to try that sometime. I just want to know for myself.
Yeah.
Now you should be left with kind of a paste. I don't know if you can see, or like the pulp.
Okay. Yeah.
And once you've got that, we can kind of set these aside.
Okay. So the pulp I can put aside. Okay. I can do that. Because the pulp, we strained out the pulp because we're going to work with the syrup.
Exactly, the syrup's what we're going to work with, so that pulp is no longer needed. We've pulled everything we need. You can dry that pulp and use it for other things if you want to for cooking.
Yeah. Okay.
But I just put it where it is. All right.
Okay.
So we've got the syrup made. Okay.
Yeah, syrup's made.
So we're going to set the syrup to the side. Now we've got to make the tea.
Okay. I'm ready for it.
So, you ready for it? So this is me following your recipe. I'm just going to turn my kettle down. I should have done that before. Yeah, but I'm taking the lid off because I want to get this temperature down to what you suggested on your packaging.
You know what? I get this strangely geeky satisfaction over perfectly combining cold water with my temperature that's in the kettle, and it
You're a smart guy.
and then
I'm gonna do that.
And then when I put it on, if it's exactly 60, I feel like I've achieved something really magical. Okay.
It's like getting a hole-in-one or something.
All right. 59. 59.
Okay, where did I go? I'm still at 67. You're much. It's a good move. I don't know why I didn't think of that. 62. 62 is pretty good. And that's gonna metabolize itself to 60 before we need. So now we're just gonna add the matcha. I'm using just this instead of my usual thing, just because I'm going to pour this into the cocktail shaker and I don't want to get a whole bunch of splash.
Okay.
But if you want to, this is the part where you could probably teach me some proper technique.
No, it's okay. So we're on that. Sorry, I got distracted with something going on. Just give me 1 sec, Jayce.
Yeah.
You could ask. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm back. So we are making the shot. So you want to?
Yeah. So we got the ginger syrup aside. We're not going to touch that. We're going to let that cool down a little bit on its own.
Okay, and we're good. So you did 4 grams, and then 6. So just so you know, the 60 degrees where that comes from, that's actually due to it being made in Kyoto. So Kyoto has a little bit of a how do I explain this? It's a like a lighter steam. And so because they don't steam as long, they're going to focus more on grassy aromatics. It makes it a little bit more fragile. Whereas if we were to buy from the south, they like it more like 65, 70 degrees because they steam it a little longer. There's a greater development of sort of inherent sugars in the botanical. And it just, it's nuttier, that kind of thing. So it's either floral or nutty. So in this case, we're working with a floral.
So are you pouring that in through one of your strainers?
I shouldn't be?
No, I don't know. This is where you're the pro.
Oh, okay.
I was just putting it right in and mixing it, but if there's a way that I should be doing it differently.
Let's do it. Let's go through the sieve. It makes a big difference. Yeah, let's do.
And then,
so you do 4 grams. Yeah.
So I was doing 4 grams, yeah.
And then
so I'm putting this. I'm following your lead on this one. I'm putting this right into the superfine strainer that's resting above my container. I'm trying to look at your screen there. Right. Oh yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So 4 grams. Okay.
Okay. I just there's a little bit of a situation that's happening in the background right now. Jayce, it's going to take me like 30 seconds to deal with it.
You go do that.
Okay.
I'm going to make this tea.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on. I'm going to mute my mic for a second, And
Okay.
where are we? We're gonna go meet guest only.
All right.
Okay,
So,
I'm muting my mic for a moment.
all right. Sounds like he didn't mute his mic. We'll tell him later. Okay, so I've got 4.1 grams. That's just resting here. I didn't do this before. Before I just had the tea right inside. So I'm hoping we're going to get the same kind of strength and flavor. We'll find out. And as far as the amount of water, just 30 mils is what I went with. But I'm actually, he's coming back.
All right, I'm back.
You are.
Yeah.
I'm pouring water.
You're doing it. Okay, so I'm gonna do. So what I like to do is for this part of the equation, if we're following sort of JagaSilk technique, I like to do a gentle add of the 60 degree centigrade water.
Oh, yeah, I do have that right in there.
And
is your tea right inside the ceramic or the clay?
It sure is.
Vessel?
Yeah.
Okay, I did this. I was not. It's such a small screen on my phone that I'm gonna. I put it into my strainer.
Oh no. Okay. Yeah. You're gonna make a.
It looked like
you're
that's
gonna
what
make
you're
a.
doing.
You can make a
I've never
mess.
seen
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But,
No, didn't work out.
But it's okay.
No, I've had people through confusion actually push the matcha through the sieve with the whisk, and you don't want to do that. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
I was thinking that'd be a difficult way to
some people
Okay.
say though, like sieve onto the water might be interesting, because then you'd be less likely to have the powder kind of coat itself to the bottom of the bowl. I personally love to put water in first and then ingredients, just so that there's less opportunity for that binding to happen. So if it's like sugar, like if I'm making a syrup with sugar, I'll always put the water in first and then the sugar, because of that. It's just going to be an easier sort of dissolving that's going to happen. So when
that sounds good.
When I'm whisking, I hold it between the ridge and the black band. I draw M's to gather everything in a bit. I don't know if you can. Should probably put this on. And then I whisk vigorously in the center for about 5 seconds, and this is going to aerate it and just make everything sort of. And then I draw M's again for about 7 seconds. And it's more like elongated ellipses. And some people draw M's like they just do like 1 M between walls, but it's better to do multiples. And I always tell people that are used to making matcha, like I can see that you've made a matcha in your day. It's nice to go in gear 4 instead of gear 5. So you want to go fast, but you don't want to go so fast that you're releasing unintended tannin. And in a recipe like this, maybe that's the point. We already have the sugars to balance things out, and we want to make it as acidic as we can. If you want to do that, you can also play around with temperature. Like you could make this even more floral and full on, bring out more bitters by even using 90 degree water instead of 60. So this is just going to protect the umami. So if you want that big flavor from the matcha, that kind of that canvasy, like full on richness, you want to keep that temperature down.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
So so let me just make sure that I understand. So the higher temperature I go, the more bitterness, the less umami.
That's right. You're gonna the umami also, after 3 weeks of a clipped open bag, is gonna start to disintegrate. And the other thing is you wanna be aware of is that even 9 months in a good storage conditions from the mill date, you start to see umami disintegration. If not at 3 months.
Okay.
3 months
That's
you
good
start
to
to taste it. 9 months we actually we start to do like 50% off stale dating them. And at a year past the mill date, we give it away for free as compost, because there's really nothing left.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
So you're done your tea there. I'm done my tea here. We've got our ginger syrup.
Excellent.
Let's move on to the next part, which is cucumber.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited for the cucumber.
So essentially, I'm just
We're
going to
muddle.
We're going to muddle. Just take about the size of 3 slices, like regular size.
What is a regular? Give me millimeters, Jayce. What am I?
Let's go like this, or we could even get more specific. And as far as grams go, you want 25 grams of cucumber.
Ooh. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do.
Let's see how I guessed on this. I'm very curious.
Okay.
I'm just gonna weigh this out just to see.
Okay, this is another game. What was you? So you were at? What were you at your? Because we've been playing games here, right?
Yes.
You got your kettle at 66, and I won that one, right? I was at 59.
Yeah, you did. I got it to 67.
Okay.
You got it to
I've not worked with
here.
cucumber, so I'm guessing here, and I'm probably losing. What do you think? Does that look like 25 grams to you?
25 grams is what we're going for. That looks pretty good. I don't know. Let's see. Put it on your scale.
19.7.
Okay. Slice one more.
Yeah.
And see where you're at.
Kind of thin one. What did you get?
I got 26.8.
Okay.
So I was a little bit heavy.
So you won. Yeah, I think you won this.
Well,
you won this. You won this round. Okay.
I won this round.
Yeah.
And then what I did, I'm gonna hold this a little closer.
Yeah.
You ever played X's and O's?
Yeah.
I just sliced the cucumber as if we're playing X's and O's on it. So it's into 9 pieces now.
Okay.
And then it's all 3 of those pieces I sliced that way. So, and then they're just gonna go straight into the shaker tin. Now, just for clarification, if I were working at an active bar serving customers, I wouldn't be using my hands. I'd be using some kind of utensils or even having gloves in my hands, but I'm at home. It's okay here.
I feel like a failure. No, I'm joking. I'm not serving anybody. This is for me and maybe my wife. Okay, that's why I can touch these with my hands too. Okay.
Yeah.
But they're washed hands. They're clean hands. Okay.
Exactly.
So, what am I doing? I'm putting them into the...
So, they're in the shaker. So take your tin apart and put it in the big part of yours, so which would be this version.
Put it in here?
Just your regular shaker tin.
What did you call that? You had a cool name for it.
The shaker tin?
No, there was another. Did you just use I thought.
I just said the big part or the large version. So I've got a Boston shaker. Boston shakers are made up of 2 pieces. Okay. One's larger, one's smaller. Okay. But when you've got a cobbler shaker, you just use the big base.
Sweet.
Like what yours is.
Okay.
So now it's in there. You want to find if you've got a muddler like this. If you don't have that, use the back end of use a wooden spoon actually if you want. That can help muddle. But you just want to.
I want a muddler. I really like this word. I don't know why it's getting me all into it. Okay, I'm gonna go look and find what I can for a muddler-like device.
Or if you've even got one of, I'm just gonna.
I have an idea. I'm gonna get would it work to use a spatula?
Totally. If it'll fit in there.
Yeah. Right. I'm thinking that because if I do that, I could multi-purpose. I could get this thick matcha shot into the,
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to add the matcha just yet. I mean, once it's muddled, that's when we start to add the ingredients.
Yeah, totally.
But the only reason I don't add liquid when I'm muddling is because when you push down the splashback, it happens. So I usually muddle before any other ingredients.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm gonna.
The other thing to consider if you're using alcohol, once you've muddled, the first thing to put in there would be the spirit or something that's higher proof alcohol, because that's going to help extract the flavor from the whatever it is that you're muddling.
Okay, one sec.
All right. As we wait, let's go over so we've got our tea ready, ginger syrup ready. This is here the cucumber, the oat milk. It's nice to have a cocktail or a non-alcoholic cocktail that has limited number of ingredients, but all of them play a very strong role in the cocktail. They all provide some kind of element. I know some I'm just talking about the basic construction of a cocktail and how sometimes you don't need a lot of things. We've got 4 ingredients in this really delicious cocktail. But there are some cases where bartenders will go a little heavy and they're like a quarter ounce of this, half of that, and they end up with a cocktail with 7 or 8 ingredients.
Right.
Where you can really only taste or only experience what's happening from 5 of those ingredients. So it's really important to know that each ingredient plays a role, and if it doesn't need to be in the cocktail.
My favorite cocktail of all time is and that's really interesting. I like that. I'm a big believer. We have herbal teas, right? And it's sort of like the tea blenders. This thing. You'll see these herbal blends that have 13 different herbal teas in it. I've always loved the idea of 2 or 3 max.
Yeah.
I just find that so much more interesting because then you have a better idea. Then you also get a sense of what each of those ingredients is actually bringing to the table, right?
Right.
Whereas when you get these 9, 10 different ingredients, it gets a lot harder to isolate what it is that each of those ingredients is actually doing.
For sure.
Okay.
Where are you at right now? You've got it all muddled?
I'm feeling muddled.
Okay. Let's continue on.
Okay. I feel so. Yeah. What does the cucumber bring to the equation?
It brings that fresh. This is a good summertime sipping matcha tea based non-alcoholic cocktail.
Okay.
And it just brings the freshness. It kind of helps kind of calm the spice from the ginger, and it helps kind of calm the bitter from the matcha.
Interesting.
So
you know, the very first
really
matcha cocktail we ever had was, there used to be this restaurant in town called Temple, and the owner, the head bartender there made a matcha cocktail with our matcha, and
nice.
and he used cucumber and Japanese sake. Isn't that cool?
Oh yeah, this would be an excellent thing to add sake. An ounce of sake in this would be really nice as well.
That's how we could take mocktail
nice
to cocktail.
umami-ness.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it doesn't need it. It's not missing anything on its own. That's just a good way to add a different element. And
Sweet.
if you want to have a little bit of alcohol in it, you've got it that way.
Sweet. Okay. Okay, I'm ready for this.
Let's move on to the next part. Okay, so our ingredients are, we got the Maccha Shot. So we're just going to pour the whole thing right into the shaker tin.
Okay.
That's already got the cucumber. So pour this right over your muddled cucumber.
Okay. And I always tell people that matcha is not like salt or sugar. It's not going to dissolve, right? It's suspended particulate. So I encourage people to swirl before transferring. And when it's thick, like normally I don't need a spatula, but it helps when it's a little thick like this.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried? I find that matcha stands up pretty good to just putting it through a sieve directly. Like when we're telling people to make a matcha at home, we say put a little bit of cold water in a jar, put the matcha through the sieve, and then close the jar and shake, and that will actually distribute the matcha pretty good, and it'll have an interesting, like the texture won't be all clumpy because you put it through the sieve.
Right.
It'd be interesting to do a cocktail where you replace the water with the alcohol, right? Because there might be an interesting opportunity there for pulling out like so much more umami. Would be to just be like, hey, I'm going to put my ounce of sake and not have any water, and just put the matcha directly through a sieve onto the sake, and then shake it, and then add your other ingredients. Would that be weird? Would that be messy?
That'd be pretty fun. I mean, I've used a sieve as a garnish on top of cocktails for like cinnamon, egg white. I did it with matcha one time as well, where you just kind of like put a little bit in there and shake it out just to get a light, delicate powder. But that was just more for decoration. I didn't really smell a whole bunch out of it. Just a little bit if you were up there, but for the most part, it was just something that made it really pop.
And I love layered cocktails too. Hey, wouldn't it be cool to have like a kind of a matcha tiramisu cocktail where you could like kind of
cool.
image you had that egg white thing you did that, and then you put like say if you did matcha on top.
The matcha sour that we did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was really cool. Okay, sorry, I digress.
No worries. We got the matcha, we got the cucumber. We're gonna step over to the ginger syrup that we've made that's cooled down quite a bit, which is exactly what we want right now.
Yeah.
So before you pour it in, just give it a little, I'm actually going to give it a quick stir, just to make sure that if anything has settled, we're kind of getting it all mixed up.
Makes sense.
And if you do make this and put it in the fridge, you'll notice if you have it in a jar, the bottom will be a bit of sediment. If it's in the fridge and it sits there for an hour, a day, just give that a shake, and everything will work.
Have you ever made your own ginger beer? Is this like...
I've never made ginger beer before.
I bet you this is, we're on our way with this. Lots of yeast
like
and sugar.
A matcha ginger beer.
That would be cool. Into it. Okay.
So I've got this back on the scale now.
Okay.
And we're gonna go. I said 20 mils of ginger syrup. Honestly, 22. We're looking for 3/4 ounces, and that's roughly 22 mils. So you can kind of go, if you're
a little over rather than a little less.
Yeah, you'd rather be a little bit over that 20 than a little bit under.
22.4.
There you go. I'm at 20. Oh, I went heavy. I'm 24.4.
Okay.
You won.
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. Okay. 2 out of 3. Yeah. All right. Perfect. So we've got that down.
Okay.
I'm going to reset the tare.
Okay.
And the last thing we're going to add to this is the oat milk, and this is just 100 mils.
Okay. All right. You ready for this? We're doing double or nothing. Okay.
I think we need to.
Yeah.
I've got some redemption.
Okay.
It needs to happen.
100 mils. Okay, let's see how close we can get. Oh, way over. 105.1.
103.3.
Oh, you win. Okay. Damn. Okay.
I needed that win.
We're down to we're even. Okay. Even Steven. What do we do now?
We're almost there. So I'm just pulling everything back. The next thing we need to do is just add some ice.
Ooh.
So, but before that, have you got a glass that you're going to be pouring this into, or whatever you're going to be drinking it out of?
I have so many different glasses, but I felt like I needed to consult with you on this. That this was an important part of the process. Like I have these really nice. I don't know if that's gonna work, but maybe it would.
Well, you're going to put ice in this too because you want to keep
There's gonna be
it
ice
slightly chilled.
Okay.
That said, it tastes really nice without ice. It just, for my preference on this one, I liked it with ice.
I
actually
have like a one of those martini glasses, I think, hanging around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Would that be cool?
I think that would be cool. You should try it with a martini glass.
Okay, hold on one sec.
I'm just going to use my fingers here. Take this off. So the way that I'm doing, I've just got a standard, what we would call a rocks glass or an old-fashioned glass or a highball glass, something like that. And I just made one big, I've got silicone molds that make 1-inch cubes and also the same for making 2-inch cubes. So this is just one of those 2-inch cubes that I've got kind of sitting in there. See where Jared's at.
Martini glasses made their way home, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
So these are my 3 glasses to choose from.
I'd say, where's your? Let me see the taller one.
Oh, Sister Speak, she's on.
Okay, let's go with your middle-sized one.
This one, hey, Sherri Ann, Jayce, Sherri Ann.
Hello.
Hi, Jayce.
Hi.
Sherri Ann joins us every week.
I just,
How are we doing over there? Do we have everything? Are we gonna actually try and do this, or is this just a quick hi bye?
Well, this is a quick hi because I wanted to tell you I have everything in this kit.
Yeah.
The cucumber.
I see the
matcha,
cucumber. Oh wow, you fall on.
Oh, that's great. That's really good.
Okay.
The only thing is that I don't have any water. Can you believe it?
Oh no. Okay, yeah, you're wondering about hot water. Oh, brutal. Okay, well, it's okay.
I know.
You can make
so I'm
it
gonna
later.
watch.
That'll be fine.
You know,
I'm actually gonna get water. I want to just watch how you're making it real quick. If I could even join you for like 4 minutes here.
can I quickly
And then I'm gonna
summarize
go make
this
one.
and Jayce, you can correct me if I'm wrong with the stuff that we've done
Go
so
for
far.
it. Dig in. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So far, this is where we're at. We're about to add ice. We're about to shake and kind of finish the drink. But what we've done is we've started with making a ginger syrup. We weighed out 20 grams.
20 grams of ginger.
Yeah, 20 grams
that
of
was diced
ginger.
up, yeah.
Slightly like,
Okay.
and then you put that into a blender with some water. The water you want to be about 100 grams or 100 mils.
100 grams or mils, yeah.
And then you kind of let it steep a bit. Jayce likes to let it steep. And then you blend it up a little bit, and then you add 100 grams of sugar, and then you blend it into a puree, and then you pour that through a sieve, and you sieve it off.
Oh wow.
And then you have a
we
syrup.
gotta go back 1 second though. The temperature of that water, you want to be at about 85 degrees Celsius
Right.
or 185 Fahrenheit, whichever whatever gauge you got.
And that's like,
The big-
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Big question. Now, is whisk flavored maple syrup an okay sweetener?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of making the ginger syrup that we're making it on its own provides the sweet and that kind of ginger spice element.
She can't do the cane sugar, so she's just wondering if there's an alternative.
Totally.
I just
yeah.
randomly while I'm traveling. I just randomly have
Oh
this.
yeah.
really
No, that's
cool
totally fine then. You'll have to just kind of tinker with the recipes. I would start off really low, like start off with maybe 50 grams, and if you want to like play from there, like this ginger is way too overpowering, just keep adding from there.
Yeah.
But that'll totally fine. And maybe even cut back on the amount of water that you're using, since you've already got water in that syrup that's already started. So maybe go 20 grams ginger to like 60 or 70 grams of the water that's at 185 Fahrenheit. And then I'd start with a benchmark of like 40 grams of that syrup, and then go from there to taste, kind of thing. You want to. This is more of a concentrated syrup, so you want to make it. Still has to be a big. It has to be a big punch of ginger, because it's going to be balanced with the tea and with everything else in the cocktail that we're making. But
There you go.
that's kind of fun.
So then you have the thank you, Jayce, and then you have the ginger syrup, and you put that to the side, and then you make a matcha shot, but instead of using 2 grams, you're using 4 grams. And then with the Okumidori Fukada by Fujioka, the preference is 60 degrees centigrade to pull out more umami. But if you're on the road, like even if you were to just kind of like lukewarmish water would be nice. You could use cold water and wing it, and just shake it in a like a water bottle, if you wanted to.
Okay.
You could put the matcha in, but using 4 grams, which is the equivalent volumetrically to 2 leveled off teaspoons, will make a difference and make it a nice strong shot. It looks like is what we're doing, and then.
That's right. Yeah.
And then you put 25 grams or like 3 slices of cucumber in the bottom of a mason jar then you're now starting the drink, by the way. So you put in the cucumber. You've quartered them, which I did something that was super faux pas. I don't know if you noticed, Jayce, but I was actually cutting the cucumber while it was already in the really bad.
Oh,
bad.
I didn't notice.
Yeah,
you
totally. Yeah, that was yeah. So I'm coming clean. I did something horrible.
The screen that I see you on is about that big,
horrible.
and I'm 6 feet away.
Okay, there you go. All right, so I can get away. With a lot. Okay, and then you do something called muddling, and I just love the word. I could say it all day, but you muddle the cucumber by kind of mashing it up, and it kind of reminds me of when you do that with oregano or herbs. Just bruising it is going to help bring out more of those aromatics, and then. Immediately, if it were alcohol, you would put the alcohol on top to help extract those aromatics, but we're doing a mocktail today, so you put the matcha on top, and then we just put in 20 grams of that ginger syrup that we made, and the water, by the way, was 60. Did we do 60?
65.
Yeah, 65. How much water did we put on the matcha?
Oh, 30? On the matcha, we did 30 mils.
Yeah, okay, so it's like a latte shot. Yeah. And then all of this information, though, is if you go in the description of the video, the recipe is already there, so you can follow. You don't have to memorize all of this information. You can actually see that recipe. All the ingredients are there. So anyway, and then you add your matcha, you add your ginger syrup, and we're about to add ice.
And we add the oat milk as well.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yes.
Have you added your oat milk?
I added my oat milk. I remember I was 105. Good. You were 103, and we've been competing.
That's right. Yeah.
I added cold water to my kettle to bring it from 85 to 60 degrees centigrade, and I got to 59, and I was really psyched. And then Jayce beat me with the cucumber. He got it at 26 when the goal was 25, and I was at 23. And then we've just been. We're having a little bit too much fun. I have to.
It's a way off.
Yeah, it's a way off. It's a full-on way off. That's right.
Yeah.
So go.
Sorry, one quick question. The cucumber, how do we exactly cut it?
Just little slices like that.
Oh, okay.
So we're looking for 3 wheels that are probably going to be about a 1/4 inch, less than that. No, about a little more than a 1/4 inch each. 3 wheels should weigh about 25 grams. So that's kind of the way to go. Yeah.
And then we're choosing a glass. Was this glass big enough?
Yeah. I think it will be.
Okay.
Is that the middle one or is that the small one?
This is the middle one. That's the small middle one. Yes.
Okay, let's go with the one that's larger than that one.
The one with the base like this.
There we go, with the base, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Hoping that works.
Yeah, hoping.
It's hard. Sorry.
I'm looking at you through a 2-inch monitor on my phone, so I hope that
mine's really tiny too.
my perspective is working. All we got to do now is shake. So you've got ice with you, right, Jared?
I have ice with me.
All right, let's load up our shaker tin with ice.
Okay. All right. So.
I just want to see you drink it and the reaction to it, and then I gotta run.
Okay.
I'm excited to hear the shake of the ice.
Okay. Hold on.
It's the cocktail dance.
It's beginning. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. How much ice am I doing? I'm gonna fill in this thing.
I usually try to fill it as much as you can.
Okay.
More control over temperature without excessive dilution.
Okay, so, I'll be right back.
Cool, I'll be right here. I'm going to talk about his shaker versus the shaker that I'm using while he's gone. Jared's got a 3-part shaker. We've all seen this. It's a larger part with a small part on top, and then there's a little cap that goes on top, because with his, you could just pour and strain from the top part. I've got, that was a Calder shaker. I've got a Boston shaker, which is just 2 parts. One small and one big. They're both metal, but you can get some that would be metal and glass. When you're shaking a cocktail with a Boston shaker, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. One is that you want one seam to be completely flush. So if you look at it dead on, the bottom part is pretty much straight, and then you've got gaps around there. And then that's how you're going to get a good seal. But at the end, that's going to make it easier for you to break apart. If you go straight down without having this seam, sometimes the way that the metal contracts makes it incredibly difficult to open up and break that seal. And you've got a seam like this. If you're taking that seam and looking at it to yourself, you put the seam at the 6 o'clock. If you're to take your wrist and hit it at about the 3 o'clock or the 9 o'clock, it's going to break that seal really nice after you've shaken it. So if you're using one of these kind of shakers, you always want to have one really solid seam on one side.
I'm using a cheater shaker though.
Well, yours is perfect because you don't need to worry about that. You just have to pull off the cap. So
right.
Where do you get these shakers at?
Um, well, I mean, there's lots of cocktail shops. If a good spirit store or whiskey store will often have bar tools. If you want to
Okay.
order online, there's a company called Cocktail Kingdom that makes really good shakers, and they have this one Japanese brand that I prefer just because the thickness
Gotta
of the
write that down.
metal is really good. It's called Kariko. That's the name of the brand. If you ever get your hands on that, those are the ones to go with. They're really well made.
I feel like I need to do this.
The gauge or the thickness is exactly what you want for it to have good control and it not to
Cocktail
really tighten up. If it's a thinner wall,
Kingdom.
sometimes that seal can get too tight and it's really
.com.
difficult to break. Whereas these are a little bit heavier.
What's the
so
name
that's
of
kinda what we want to
the
do.
What's the name of the brand again?
Kariko. It is spelled Koriko.
Koriko.
Just says it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so
All right. Are you ready to shake?
I want some judgment here on my technique too, but I'm gonna watch you first.
Okay.
Okay.
So with this, you always shake with the big part facing out. If you're shaking in front of people,
Yeah.
and it happens to come apart,
Ah.
the big part is facing them. It's going to only explode on you. If you go this way and have the small part out, and it happens to blow up,
Mhm.
your whole bar or whoever's in front of you gets the splash, and you're the one that walks away clean. But
Yeah.
if you're going to make a mess, make the mess on yourself.
Yeah, this
But
protects the
I
electronic
just
equipment too.
give it a little bit of a shake.
What do you? Wow. Okay, you're doing like this. I don't know how you're doing that. I end up doing like that.
Actually, what you're doing right there is a 3-step. That's actually a Japanese shaking technique.
Okay.
That was so, and that's funny because the shaker that you have is really, really prominent as far as a cocktail shaker that's used in Japanese bars. Like the
Interesting.
little 5-seater bars. We've got one bartender, 5 stools, and that's literally it, and a whole ton of Japanese whiskey behind you. But those cobbler shakers are the, I'd say they're like the dominant shaker that are used
Interesting.
in most Japanese bars.
Okay. Yeah, I went.
And there's some beautiful like technique that some guys will get into where they kind of like do this whole circle and they'll explain to you the physics of what's happening with the ice because it's bouncing back and forth, so that's breaking it up and causing dilution. But in this shake thing, it's also rolling it around, so it's helping emulsify. So it's really cool what can happen based on what you're doing with your shake and your technique. If you really want to go down that rabbit hole, I'm sure you could spend an hour on YouTube watching
Yeah.
some pretty cool
no.
stuff.
Okay.
I think also, shoot, I forgot. Oh, no. Oh, I was actually thinking about maybe recording that and putting it on the next album.
It's a good sound.
That can be your drum beat.
That would be great.
That
That'd be a
would- it's
good,
very
a good rhythm
percussive.
for sure.
Yeah, you could do some. I think you could just loop it. Okay, so am I just pouring through
Yeah,
the
yeah.
strainer into the glass? Is that?
I'm gonna go through like not your super fine strainer, but just like a relatively fine strainer.
Should I empty it into
you-
this first, just in case it's not all gonna fit in that guy, or is that kind of a faux pas?
The way that I mean, you can do it whatever way you'd like. Essentially, you're in control.
Okay, I'm gonna try and get it
but-
on here. I feel good about it. Okay. Okay.
Wow, it looks
That
so
looks
amazing.
good. That looks really good.
I'm ordering this on the next Music Friday.
Jayce, look at this.
That looks so good.
I don't think I can pick this up, but
You're gonna have to take that first sip by bringing your head right down to. Now, you've got a really long cucumber there, right, Jared?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Okay. So what do I do?
If you have a peeler and want to do, oh, that just went sideways. Didn't it?
That's really funny.
Oh
Okay.
God, that's even more descriptive.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
you
I gotta
have
keep this
a,
PG-13. Yes.
So you can. So I just cut a wheel and rested on top because I served mine on ice.
Okay.
But if you've got a peeler and
Yeah.
want to do like a couple long peels,
Yeah.
then you can kind of spiral that
Okay.
inside.
Sorry.
Is this my time to go? I can't-
You do what you need to do.
I'm
But he's-
still waiting for that first sip.
Oh, I'm
he's
ready.
Yeah.
ready.
Okay. All right. So what am I doing? I'm doing like
So
I'm
you're gonna-
garnishing.
I just cut a wheel like this, and I already put one on the drink, and I just kind of plopped it down. You can do that. The other thing, all I had was just this little bit of cucumber left, but if you got a full cucumber and you do a peel, you can do really cool things with a pick where you kind of ribbon it and stick a pick through that, and then you've got this snake
Wow.
leg
Oh, I'm
outside.
dripping.
Rest that on the glass, and it just looks really good. But
Sorry.
that looks pretty nice too there.
I
So
can't-
anyway.
I don't have those
Wow.
skills. Okay. Yeah, that actually tastes amazing.
Wow.
Jayce, man, full on.
The ginger plays along with the cucumber. You get a little bit of balance. I almost would add a touch more ginger to mine, but I think that's because I let it sit in the shaker tin with ice, so it diluted a bit more. Usually it'd be like ice, shake, strain.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I feel like
for a little bit.
Yeah, there was some dilution, but for me the ginger's really coming through in the finish. Like I'm getting that heat.
Yeah, I'm actually getting that right now.
Yeah,
too.
so it's like it opens with like the matcha creamy, almost latte likeness, and then it goes right into this ginger like heat. It's actually really cool. Yeah, and then the smell of the cucumber. When sorry?
It just kind of levels out the whole way. There's this fresh element that stays from starting point of the palate midway through, and then the finish of the drink, and that kind of lingers. That spice on the back, and then on the top, you're hitting these nice high notes with the bright cucumber.
Is the cucumber in the main drink? It's in the main drink as well, and
it's
also
muddled
the garnish?
in there, yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Taste everything first with your eyes. So if it looks appealing with that nice ribbon garnish we were talking about, or even for mine, it was the you can't really tell now, but the cucumber was just kind of resting right on top of this big ice cube, on top of this just layers of different tones of green, which was, it looks fresh. It looks like something I want to drink in the summertime. It looks nourishing, really. Yeah.
I want one of those like beautiful, almost like bowl cups. Those really heavy base, but kind of like wider. Yeah, this would look great in that. And I love the aromatic of the cucumber when you pull it, like when you bring it to your nose. And then there's like ginger fiber floating in it, which looks really sweet. Like, yeah, it's got a really, really cool look to it.
Wow.
It's a fun one. And we were talking earlier about how sake would be a nice addition if you wanted to add something with alcohol into it. An ounce of sake would be a great complement to this cocktail.
Cinnamon would be nice too, I think. Yeah.
I still think it's kind of comical that the only sweetener I have on the road is maple syrup, whiskey barrel aged.
Yeah, I know, it's pretty hardcore. Yeah, that's like full on. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. I was at a cocktail bar in Japan. It's in Nara called Lamp. Have you ever heard of Lamp?
I haven't.
Yeah, the owner, he won first place in the world at international.
Oh, I have. I know who that is. Yeah. He won world class.
Yeah.
Like 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
Yeah. And we got to go in and have him make us a cocktail. It was really cool. And he spent like an hour hanging out and talking about ice. He was like just so into ice, and he said every morning he cuts ice, and he's got this full on, like he doesn't want to have like the crystallization in the I don't know.
Like so that has to do with the purity of the water, and that's such a Japanese bartending style that I've admired and incorporated into my style over the last few years as well, is the care to ice. When you have clear ice, you can get what's called a directional freezer, which actually kind of vibrates the water a little bit, and it only freezes from one direction, keeps the other sides isolated, or insulated, I should say. So the reason for directional freezing is if it's freezing, say, from the top, it's going to be pushing those impurities down to the bottom, and then there'll be water left in the bottom. So a good home hack for that is if you get a cooler. I have a wide one that's about this. It's actually about the size of this bar top, this deep, about this wide, and this kind of, I guess, wide as well, the two different sides of it. Fill that with water, and you put it in a home freezer, and rather than using an industrial freezer, having something that's going to freeze it at a slower amount of time is what's going to really make that clear ice.
He was talking about that
too.
It
freezes fast, none of those impurities get to move out. So even if you're using water that is purified, you're still going to find some of those little, just looks like white lines or white bubbles in it. But the slower that it freezes, that all of those impurities will be pushed into whatever direction. And the reason you use a cooler inside a freezer is that's providing that insulation on the sides.
Right.
And then once that top layer freezes, that top layer is actually the insulator, and then it starts to freeze from the sides, but it pushes everything down, and then you want to pull it out just before it completely freezes, so you've still got a bit of water in there.
Right.
And then when you pull it out, you've got a completely clear block of ice. And the other thing about clear ice is it just provides that much more control. It's heavier, it's got more density, it takes a lot longer to melt because it doesn't have any air pockets.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's really cool. And wow, that's a lot of good information if I want to make good ice at home. And I guess, is it just an aesthetics thing? Does obviously clear ice isn't going to affect the flavor.
No, it's more for control and aesthetics as well, but you have so much more control when you've got dense ice. As far as I would lean towards using like for stirred cocktails.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to stir, you have, the friction of that spoon stirring the ice is what causes the ice to melt, and you want a little bit of water in your cocktail. That's part of the recipe, part of the ingredients, but it's going to give you more control. You can stop it at exactly which point you'd like with more preciseness. The other thing is if you're sipping on whiskey with ice, which is like very, very popular in Japan, have these like beautiful hand-carved ice globes. I used to do this on the bar at Clive's once in a while if it was quieter. Somebody ordered a nice whiskey. I always kept some clear ice. Yeah. And I would carve up, just use an ice pick, carve it up, and put that in the glass. And then you've got this beautiful ice globe. It's going to take so much longer to melt, and you can actually enjoy that whiskey for, the 5-minute mark, the 10-minute mark, the 15-minute mark are going to taste great, and you can start to see how it opens up as that ice melts. So yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So oh, that's really, really fascinating, because what we just used right now is obviously like what I used anyway is pretty cheap ice. And that's gonna affect my drink a lot more than if I was to use dense ice, because it's not going to melt as quickly. It's not going to. He also talked a lot about like how you shake. He says a lot of like he doesn't like it to slam against the walls. He likes to like he's like, it was like this whole like,
that's that roll thing.
Yeah, it was.
And
really,
that's what I was telling you, that you kind of were doing this like 3-part thing that it almost rolls the ice. It probably looks funny without the shaker.
Yeah.
Here, hold on. I can get something.
Okay.
I've got one like yours too, but it's glass on the bottom. But yeah, they'll kind of do this like almost like a roll thing.
Yeah, he was like, it was almost like he was like, yeah, it was really interesting, and it was just exactly. Yeah. That's it.
You'll sometimes see them go like, it just takes so much practice to get these techniques down.
Yeah.
With each of them, there's like a step. You're kind of sliding it, pulling it, pulling it for different types of shakes. It's really cool.
Yeah. You're also a competitor. Do you see these kinds of things? Like, do judges like judge you on your form? It's like what kind of? I mean, we're all so far into our. Wow, I was supposed to be like, hey, at 2:00, are you still with me, man? But like, it's 2:30. Are we still okay? Like, should we maybe wrap up?
I got to get my COVID shot in a while, but I got 10 more minutes, so we're good. Today's COVID shot.
Okay, all right. So maybe we'll this will be our last topic, and then we'll pull away. But yeah, competition, judges.
They're great. I competed for years, and then I started judging. In the last few years. But yeah, it's part of technique, and that's always a part of this. If it's a professional competition that's at a world-class level or at a national or international level, there's always a bracket or a part of the judging criteria that is technique, and it'll have everything from stirring, shaking technique, how you handle yourself behind the bar, how organized you are, where your tools are placed, your familiarity with your tools and with the use of your tools, and technique like that. It's they're huge players.
You can tell a lot from.
Yeah, and I've seen people trying to show off doing like a competition where they've got to make 4 cocktails and they're trying to go fast and they're double shaking, and all of a sudden, boom, the shaker doesn't explode. It's awesome.
Do you have are you able to get closer to the screen? Because I have this this video that would be really cool for you to see.
Yeah, play.
Okay. Yeah. You ready for this?
I'm gonna move around. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
You're gonna see my notes.
Yeah. I'm gonna pin. I'm gonna pin my screen, and then I'm gonna share. Present now. Present a tab. Oh, you know what? I should probably not do this live. Just choose a tab, and we're gonna do photos. Where are you? Photos. There you are. Okay, share. Okay. And then this is the one.
Oh, cool.
And
oh, no way.
Isn't that cool?
Hakui means very cool.
Okay.
Did you see the little spin thing?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then we're tasting. I always taste to make sure it's hit the right dilution and the right temperature every time.
It's, you
and
know what?
That double strain, yeah.
Just it's not working. Just give me a sec. So present. You were presenting. Okay, so I'm presenting. This is the screen we want. Why is it not share this tab instead? Hold on. Present now. Entire screen. Oh, I know what I need to do. Okay. I know what we gotta do. So we're gonna open it up on this screen.
I'm gonna take another sip.
Do it. And it's gonna be awesome. And we can get you, because the audience so far couldn't see what we were watching.
Oh, okay. It was just you and I that could see it.
Yeah, and I just want them to be able to see it because it's pretty cool to see this this action shot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go F. Okay, and then. Oh man.
Your T-bar looks really nice, though.
Thank you. You know, if I could just move faster. Okay, that's good. And then I need to present from this screen. Present now. Present a tab. Present this. Share. Okay. And then we're good. And then on this screen, we can kill that.
Go back and play, yeah.
And then we can go over here. And I think...
I'm really appreciating your step-by-step here. That's nice.
I'm trying. I'm just trying to find... Okay, so there's... Why isn't this working then? Because I need to... This is... So there's a presentation. Can you see the video on your end?
I can see the video, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I got it. Oh, hey, this is kind of cool. We can actually see us watching it. Okay.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we got it. Okay. That took me a while, but here we go.
It's very cool. Did you see the little spin thing?
This is Jayce at work.
Yeah. Always take that little taste, make sure it's chilled down, make sure it's the right dilution.
Yeah.
We don't have any of that?
I just like, you know, I think I keep going, and I don't know if this is like capturing how rad you're, like you were tossing lemons into like over your back, and you just, I don't know.
Oh yeah. You know, I worked behind that bar for 7 years.
Yeah.
And you could bartend with your eyes closed sometimes, where you know where everything is, where to grab, where to throw, where to set things down, and then that's what allows you to have those conversations with your bartending, because you've got such a good familiarity of your bar that you can just kind of, I know where to set it, I know what to do, but I can still make eye contact with you while I'm talking to you.
Got my head into, okay, what do we need to do here for tomorrow, and
It's like that.
got it all sorted out. Where am I going with this one here?
Okay.
Right here.
Awesome.
There you are.
Yeah, that was a beautiful bar.
The ones that I use, or which ones? The ones with the pop tops. Those are all.
Oh, that was fun.
From
I don't think I got
receipt setter blocks.
got everything that I could have here. Hey.
I just.
This is when Takaki was visiting the farmer.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he was a great guy.
Yeah, no, it was fun times, and then we got. Wonder if there's any more video here of you working. Oh, there's something. Okay. Let's see.
This is the build. This is building that. It looks like we're making that matcha sour just based on the
Yeah. There he is. That's your syrup that you made with the matcha, right?
The matcha syrup that I had for that cocktail. Yeah.
For that reason, or is it just because it's
Oh no, the matcha syrup's right here.
Well, my other two.
Oh yeah, it says matcha syrup on it. Who would have known?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, no, it doesn't change.
And then we were here with Takaki.
That was during the tea festival.
And this is. Yeah, this was he was here for the tea festival. You had a cool table. Yeah, we'll have to get you back.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
doing what you do.
Let's get that glass up first. So this is a fun way of just recognizing, like, get your glass ready, because as soon as you shake it and add the ice, all the egg white. This is fun.
Remember when we visited with the team? I remember Hadi was eating the egg yolk.
Yeah, he had like 5 of them, I think.
Yeah, intense. Yeah.
抹茶に対してちょっと他が多いしね。
Okay.
Sorry, I'm speaking in code.
Okay.
It's really
an ingredient.
This I
Don't
can
wanna do
taste
that.
the tea and the spices.
Oh, you almost missed something,
And this one I can't taste the tea so much, even though it's a delicious drink.
but you caught it. You caught it. Oh, come on, Jared.
He just said it's delicious.
Don't miss the shake. We were just talking about the shake.
Oh, that was just the dry shake. With egg white, you always want to shake it first
Okay.
without any ice, just to emulsify it.
Ah,
And
okay.
that's going to give you that nice frothy latte frothiness, essentially.
Okay, here it
There
is.
you go.
Yeah. Pretty cool
That
stuff.
was the emulsification. Or that's finished drink.
It's weird to watch myself do that. One thing that's always going through your mind is how long you're shaking for, and how hard you're shaking, and what's happening within that shaker tin
Yeah.
while you're doing it.
Yeah, you
Correct?
Absolutely.
awesome. So what
There
What
we
were
go.
you missing the first time?
I was missing the citrus. It was very sweet.
and that egg white gives it that foamy top, right? To make it look like a latte?
Like the
Exactly.
egg,
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
it,
And that's why we shake it without the ice to start. Is,
Yes.
you know?
then it'll hold that frothiness a little bit more
Yeah,
that
it's
way.
really
Okay.
interesting.
Cool. Okay.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. There you go. I thought I was kind of searching for something like this. I was gonna. I took some video of the lamp guy doing his thing, and it was kind of interesting to to have that video, but I took it on a different camera, so I couldn't show it to you here. But then I was like, I put in bartender into my Google photos, and then Jayce came up, and well.
Actually,
It needed to
That's funny.
happen. Yeah, no, it was good. It was very good. So,
Perfect.
This is man, it's interesting being my own like video controller while I'm trying to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So
You're running the ops while you're hosting the show. That's a big feat.
trying. Okay. Anyway, so we didn't get to say goodbye to Sherri Ann. She had to drop out of the call. She did say that she was just here for a quick moment and then she had to leave. She's actually recording her fourth album in California right now, which is pretty awesome. And we've been tea sponsors for her for the last 10 years plus. And she travels the world, sponsored by Taylor Guitars and I can't remember the name of the string company, but also JagaSilk for her tea sponsor, which is pretty fun. And nepotism, she is my sister. Super proud
cool.
to be, supporting her, and at least with tea. And that she's always like marketing our teas, which is beautiful and helpful and amazing. But yeah, you should check out her stuff, sisterspeakmusic.com. And then I guess people can find you, Jayce. They can go to your Instagram, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I keep a pretty low profile on social media. It's just something that I like, a little bit of privacy. But that said, whenever I'm doing cocktail things, I usually shoot out a story or something like that.
Cool.
I've done a number of online, this kind of thing. This is not the first time I've set my bar up in my kitchen.
Yeah. you look
Especially
like
through COVID,
familiar.
I've probably done about a dozen of these things now.
Nice.
I always do a post when something's or I try to do a post when something's gonna happen. So it's worth hanging on to and just checking in every once in a while. And as I'm inspired, I'll start to add more photos. Some cocktail stuff, some just for myself. But it's a good way to keep in touch.
Sweet. Yeah.
And if you have any questions too, if you want to ask questions about this recipe and you're watching and you're like kind of curious, if you fire me a message on Instagram, that'll be a good way to get to me. I might not get to it in a day, but at some point in time when I look at it, I will respond.
And people can find you on Instagram. You're on our in our guests in the description here. It would say at Jayce Cad. So
Jayce Cad. JAYCEKAD.
Yeah, and that's where they can find you. They can DM you on Instagram, ask you questions. Recipes in the description. Jayce, really appreciate you coming on the show today. Did you have any final words for our viewers and about the matcha or the anything for the show today that you wanted to say before we part ways here?
I mean, this is a great show. Thanks for having me on. As far as cocktails go, everyone has a different palate. Everyone has a different approach to what works for them. No recipe needs to be set in stone, and never feel like it's always is perfect for everyone. If you find a way, if this recipe works for you by adding less or more ginger or less or more matcha or less or more cucumber or oat milk, there's nothing wrong with that. This is a way that I find balances incredibly well, but each person does their own thing, and keep that in mind when you try all cocktails. You know, sometimes if you're making something at home, it might work better for you differently than the recipe actually says. They're not the law. You can play around.
You know, that's awesome, man. It'd be really fun to have you involved in some mocktail creation at JagaSilk as well. You know, it'd be pretty fun to put something together,
cool.
and
Yeah.
maybe we could serve them at our Friday sort of when we're open to the public in the summer. It'd be really rad to have these mocktails going. We should we should talk. We should talk.
We should talk. We'll talk, yeah.
Okay, awesome, cool. All right, well, thank you, Jayce, for coming on the show, and
Thank you very
I really
much, yeah.
appreciate your time, and I hope you have an awesome rest of the day, and good luck with your shot. Mine's on Sunday, so it's all happening.
It's all happening. Yeah.
The light at the end of the tunnel, but we're still be careful, right? They don't know if we're
be careful, stay safe. Yeah. Be smart.
Be smart.
Thanks, Jared.
Okay, thank you.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that was Jayce joining us. He's doing the cocktail program over at Agrius. He was a part of Clive's for the last 7 years. He's joined Victoria from his work in Saskatchewan. He's a really, really good guy, as you can probably tell. Very creative. Really happy to have him on the show. So yeah, you can go check out his work on Instagram. This drink, absolutely fantastic. The cucumber, the ginger syrup, it all works so well. I highly encourage you to give this a try, and I really appreciate you watching. So you can join us next week. We're going to be joined by Andrew McWilliam over at Ratio Coffee. It's going to be a second time on the show. We're going to be making some ice drinks that we've created here at JagaSilk, some simple stuff that we serve on our bar. And if you want to join us for episode 56, it'll be Thursday at 1 next week. Looking forward to having you join us again. Subscribe if you're watching archive version of the show, youtube.com/JagaSilk. There's a notification bell that you can click, and then when we do go live, you will know, and maybe you can join us in the chat room, ask questions of our guests while we're live, look at past episodes, all that fun stuff. So if you want to know who's coming up, you can also join JagaSpam. Go onto our webpage, scroll down, there's a mailing list you can join. But yeah, I'm Jared Nyberg, co-owner of JagaSilk, and I'll be hosting for the last 55 and for the next 1,000 or more. All right, you take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.